Adam had been stationed at the remote space station for months, surrounded by nothing but silence and the endless expanse of space. His life had been routine, training, maintenance, and the occasional communication with Earth. He never expected much excitement, but that all changed the day the alien ship appeared. It wasn't a usual sight. Adam was on watch duty when the station's sensors picked up a strange blip on the radar. At first, he thought it was a glitch, perhaps a piece of debris or a small asteroid. But then the signal grew stronger and faster, heading directly for them. Before Adam could react, the ship collided with the outer hull of the station. Alarms blared, and the station's automated systems locked down sections of the facility. Adam's heart raced as he quickly moved to the nearest airlock. He was used to handling emergencies. But this situation was different. He wasn't sure what to expect when he opened the airlock. He was met with the wreckage of a small spacecraft, its metal twisted and scorched. In the middle of the debris, lying on the cold steel floor, was a woman. She had soft, glowing skin, and her features were unlike anything Adam had ever seen. Her face was delicate, almost ethereal, with silver eyes that shimmered faintly in the dim light. She was barely conscious, breathing heavily, her body weak and trembling. Adam rushed to her side. Kneeling down beside the stranger, his military training kicked in as he quickly assessed the situation. She was hurt, badly. Blood, though it looked different from human blood, puddled around her, and her body was covered in cuts and bruises. Adam's heart pounded in his chest. This was not a situation he had ever trained for. He had no idea who she was or where she came from, but she was alive, and that was all that mattered. "Hey," Adam said softly, placing a hand gently on her arm. Her eyes fluttered open, and for a moment she seemed confused, disoriented. When she saw him, her silver eyes widened in surprise, as though seeing a human for the first time. I'm here to help," Adam said, his voice calm. "Can you hear me? Are you all right?" The alien woman didn't respond at first. She struggled to sit up, but her body was too weak. She gasped for air, and Adam could feel the panic rising in his chest. He needed to act fast. Without thinking, he lifted her gently in his arms and carried her towards the station's medical bay. The path to the medical bay was quiet and tense, the only sound being the rush of his breath as he tried to keep calm. Adam knew he had to keep his focus. He didn't know how long she had been unconscious, but it didn't matter, he had to get her help now. Once inside the medical bay, Adam laid the woman on the table. He immediately started to scan her for injuries. The readings were confusing. Her body wasn't responding in a way he understood. The technology on the station was designed to treat humans, not aliens. The language of their biology was foreign. Adam's mind raced. He tried to recall any training or information he had about extraterrestrial life, but nothing he knew seemed to fit this situation. The alien woman's wounds were severe, and she needed blood. Her body was fading, the glow of her skin dimming with every passing second. Adam's eyes landed on the blood supply station. It was a long shot, but it was the only option. He knew he had to act quickly, without hesitation. Adam hooked himself up to the station's blood supply and started a transfusion. He wasn't sure what the outcome would be. Human blood could be dangerous for alien species, but there was no other choice. She had to survive. As the blood transferred into her veins, the woman's body responded immediately. Her pulse began to stabilize, and the color slowly returned to her skin. Adam watched in awe as she took a deep breath, her chest rising and falling with renewed strength. The alien woman's silver eyes fluttered open again, this time focused on Adam. She stared at him, her mouth moving as though she wanted to speak, but no words came out. "You're safe," Adam said softly, his voice reassuring. "You're going to be okay." The woman's gaze lingered on him for a moment longer before she finally spoke, her voice soft and strained. Why did you help me?" she asked. Adam was taken aback by the question. He had done what anyone would do in the situation. He had tried to save her life. But her confusion was clear. "I didn't want you to die," Adam said, his tone sincere. "I couldn't just leave you there. You needed help." The alien woman's expression changed. A flicker of something surprise, maybe flashing. In her eyes, she seemed to be processing his words as if they didn't quite make sense to her. "I don't understand," she whispered. "I was fading. My people, we never expected such a thing. Why, your blood." Adam didn't have the answers. He only knew that he had made a choice to help someone in need. He had no idea what would happen next, but one thing was clear. This was the beginning of something neither of them could have imagined. The days after the transfusion passed quietly. Adam stayed close by, watching over the alien woman, who had introduced herself as Lyra. Her condition had improved significantly since he gave her his blood, but she still wasn't fully recovered. She had been confused at first, struggling to understand what had happened, but as the days went on, she seemed to regain more strength. Adam spent his time researching everything he could about Lyra's species. The data available on the station was limited, and there was little known about alien races in this sector of space. But from what he could gather, Lyra's people were not like humans. They were different in many ways, both biologically and culturally. Her species was known for their advanced technology and deep knowledge of the universe, but their bodies were more delicate than they appeared. Lyra had explained to Adam that her kind had been searching for a way to cure their failing life force. For generations, they had been slowly fading, their bodies unable to cope with the damage caused by a virus that had spread across their planet. One evening, as Adam entered the medical bay, he found Lyra sitting up in bed, her skin glowing with a soft light. She looked much better, though her expression was still filled with wonder. "Adam," she said, her voice still weak but clearer than before. "I've been thinking." Adam paused. "About what?" Lyra's eyes met his. "About your blood." He raised an eyebrow. "What about it?" "You told me it saved my life," she said. "But I don't understand. How could it heal me so quickly? My species, we've never had this kind of reaction to anything before." Adam shifted uncomfortably. He didn't have an answer. He only knew that something about his blood had worked when nothing else had. But Lyra's confusion was understandable. This was beyond anything either of them could explain. "I don't know," he admitted. I did what I thought was right. You were dying, and I couldn't just stand by." Lyra's gaze softened. "You didn't have to. Most humans would not have given me anything, especially not their blood." Adam didn't reply. He had never thought about it that way. Helping others, especially when they were in need, was just second nature to him. He had always been trained to act quickly in dangerous situations, but he hadn't expected to find himself in the middle of something like this. Lyra's voice broke through his thoughts. "I need to understand why you did it. Why did you help me, someone you know nothing about? Was it just kindness, or is there something more?" Adam took a deep breath. He didn't have a simple answer. He had seen so many lives lost, so many soldiers fall during the war. But in Lyra's case, it was different. He couldn't explain it, but something about her made him want to protect her. "I guess I didn't think too much about it," Adam said finally. "I just knew you needed help, and I couldn't let you die." Lyra studied him for a long moment, her eyes filled with a mix of gratitude and something else, something that Adam couldn't quite place. She slowly leaned back against the pillows, her fingers tracing the edge of the blanket. "My people, we don't trust easily," Lyra said quietly. "We've been betrayed by others before, and we've learned to depend only on ourselves. But you're different. You gave me something that most would never give to an alien. And yet, here I am, still alive because of you." Adam swallowed. He wasn't used to being praised, especially not by someone from another species. But he could sense the weight of Lyra's words. She wasn't just talking about blood. She was talking about trust, something that wasn't easily given, especially not in a galaxy filled with conflict and misunderstandings. "I didn't do it for praise," Adam replied. "I did it because I couldn't leave you to die. I'm not looking for anything in return." Lyra's lips curved into a faint smile. "Maybe not, but I still owe you my life." Adam shook his head. "You don't owe me anything." But deep down, he couldn't help but feel that something had shifted between them. He had helped save her life, and in return, He had made a connection with someone from a far-off world. It wasn't just about the blood anymore. There was something more, something neither of them could ignore. The next few days passed in a blur of activity. Lyra continued to recover, and Adam found himself spending more and more time with her. He taught her about human culture, and she shared stories of her people's past, their struggles, and their hopes for the future. Though they were from different worlds, they found common ground in their shared experiences. Both of them had seen war. Both had lost people they cared about. One day, as they walked through the station's observation deck, Lyra stopped to look out at the stars. "I never thought I'd be looking at the stars with a human," she said softly. "It feels strange, but somehow not so foreign." Adam smiled, feeling the weight of the moment. "Yeah, I never thought I'd be doing this either. But here we are." Lyra turned to face him, her silver eyes glowing softly. "I don't know what comes next, but whatever it is, I'm glad I'm not facing it alone." Adam's heart skipped a beat as he looked into her eyes. For the first time in a long while, he felt something stirring inside him, a connection that was deeper than just the simple act of helping someone in need. The days on the station seemed to pass in a blur for Adam and Lyra. As Lyra continued to heal, a quiet understanding grew between them. The once uncertain alien was now strong enough to walk around the station. Though she still kept to herself, her recovery had been remarkable, and Adam couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. They had grown used to each other's presence. Adam showed Lyra the everyday routines of the station, explaining human customs and ways of life. She, in turn, told him more about her people. But the more they spoke, the more Adam realized just how different their worlds were. One afternoon, Lyra sat beside a small window overlooking the stars. She was silent, staring out into the vastness of space. Adam walked in, carrying a cup of water, but he paused when he saw her. She looked so small against the endless backdrop of stars, her delicate form almost lost in the vastness. "You're thinking again," Adam said softly, setting the water down beside her. "What's on your mind?" Lyra glanced at him, a thoughtful expression on her face. "I've been thinking about my people, the ones who survived. They'll never understand what happened here." Adam sat down next to her. He knew this moment was coming. Lyra had always been cautious, but now that she had healed, the reality of her situation was beginning to settle in. "They won't understand why I helped you, will they?" Adam asked quietly. Lyra's silver eyes met his. "No, they won't. You gave me your blood, and now I'm alive. But we've never trusted humans. We were taught that your kind was dangerous, that you would never give anything for free." "I don't know much about your people, Lyra," Adam said gently, "but I'm not like the others. I helped you because you needed it. You would have died if I hadn't." Lyra nodded slowly, her fingers tracing the edge of the table in front of her. "It's hard for me to understand. My people, we take everything for ourselves. We don't trust others with our lives. But you gave me something precious." Adam could see the conflict in her eyes. He didn't blame her for being confused. The trust between them was fragile, but it was growing stronger each day. Yet, the weight of her people's expectations hung heavy over her. She didn't know if she could reconcile her past beliefs with the reality of her survival. "What's going to happen to us now?" Lyra asked, her voice low. Adam turned to her, thinking for a moment. "I don't know. I didn't expect any of this, but I do know one thing: we'll figure it out, together." She looked at him, her gaze searching his face, as if trying to understand him completely. It was as though she was seeing him for the first time. "Really seeing him? I've never had anyone care for me like this," Lyra said softly. "It's strange, but not unwelcome." Adam's heart skipped a beat at her words. He had never imagined his life would change like this. The thought of a bond between them, of helping someone from another world, had never seemed possible before. Yet here they were, two beings from completely different backgrounds, finding common ground. "We've both been alone in our own ways," Adam replied quietly. "I know what it feels like to be isolated, to not have anyone to rely on. Maybe that's why I couldn't just leave you." Lyra's eyes softened. "Maybe. But I still don't know what I should do next. My people will come for me. They'll want answers. And when they find out what you did for me, they'll what? Adam asked, his voice steady but firm. They'll think I've betrayed them. They'll see me as weak for accepting your help. Lyra looked away, staring out at the stars again. I've lived my entire life learning not to trust, and now, because of you, I'm questioning everything. Adam placed a hand on her shoulder, gently turning her to face him. You didn't betray anyone, Lyra. You made a choice, and you chose life. She met his gaze again, the weight of her past and future still heavy in her eyes. But what if? My people can't accept that. What if they punish me for this, for what you did? I don't know what your people will do, Adam admitted. But what I do know is that you're not alone anymore. I'm here. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The silence between them was filled with the weight of their shared experience. Lyra finally nodded, a small smile tugging at the corner of her lips. Thank you, Adam, for everything. I don't know where this will lead, but I'm glad you're here. Adam smiled back, feeling a warmth in his chest that he hadn't felt in a long time. Me too. Days passed, and Lyra's strength continued to grow. The bond between them deepened, and they began to train together, preparing for whatever might come. Though the threat of her people's return still loomed, neither of them wanted to dwell on it. For now, they focused on each other, on the strange and unlikely friendship they had formed. But the question remained, what would happen when Lyra's people found out the truth? Would they accept the bond between her and Adam, or would it tear them apart? Only time would tell. Adam and Lyra had been waiting for days, but the call never came. The distant hum of the station was all they heard, and still, the shadow of what might happen to Lyra if her people found her hung heavily in the air. Adam had prepared himself for anything, but the reality of what they might face when the time came still filled him with uncertainty. Lyra had been quiet lately, deep in thought. She spent more time alone, staring out into space, perhaps thinking about her home or the people she once trusted. It was a look that Adam had seen before in the faces of soldiers just before they went into battle. They were both waiting for something, though neither of them knew exactly what. One evening, Lyra called Adam into the observation room. The stars were especially bright tonight, and the room was bathed in the soft glow of distant light. Adam, Lyra began, her voice steady but carrying an air of determination. I've made up my mind. Adam looked up, raising an eyebrow. What do you mean? Lyra turned to face him, her silver eyes reflecting the stars. I'm going back. Adam's heart sank. He knew this day would come, but hearing the words spoken out loud made it all the more real. You can't be serious, Adam said, trying to keep his voice calm. Lyra, you don't know what they'll do to you. You can't just go back and expect everything to be fine. They're not going to accept this. Lyra shook her head, a soft but sad smile appearing on her face. I don't have a choice. If I don't go back, they'll come for me. They'll search every corner of the galaxy until they find me. But if I go to them on my own terms, there's a chance they'll listen. Adam stood up, pacing the small room. He didn't want to lose her, not after everything they had been through. It wasn't just about helping her survive anymore. They had built something together, and he didn't want to see it crumble. You think they'll listen? After everything that's happened, Lyra, your people don't trust us. They'll see you as a traitor. I'm not a traitor, Lyra replied firmly. I made a choice, and I don't regret it. I'll explain everything to them. I'll make them understand. But I can't run forever. Adam stopped in his tracks, turning to face her. He could see the resolve in her eyes, the same kind of determination that he had seen in soldiers heading to war. She was ready to face her fate, whatever it might be. I won't let you go alone, Adam said, his voice low but certain. I'll come with you. Lyra's expression softened. You don't have to do this, Adam. This is my fight, not yours. You've already done more than enough. Adam shook his head. I know, but you're not going back alone. We've been through too much together. I can't let you face this by yourself. Lyra paused, considering his words. She knew that Adam's offer wasn't just about being kind, it was about something deeper. Something neither of them had fully understood until now. The bond between them wasn't just a matter of survival. It had grown into something more. "All right," she said quietly. "We'll go together." The decision was made, but that didn't make the path ahead any clearer. They spent the next few days preparing, gathering supplies, and making plans. Adam wasn't sure what kind of welcome they would receive when they arrived at Lyra's home, but he was determined to stand by her side, no matter the cost. As they prepared to leave, Lyra looked at Adam one last time before stepping onto the small ship that would take them to her people. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "Thank you for everything." Adam smiled at her, a gentle warmth spreading through his chest. "You don't have to thank me. We're in this together." The journey was long, the silence between them broken only by the occasional hum of the ship's engines. Lyra sat at the controls, her eyes focused ahead, while Adam kept watch over the ship's systems. It was peaceful in a way, but there was also an undeniable tension. They both knew the risks they were taking. When they finally arrived at the coordinates Lyra had given him, Adam felt his heart rate pick up. They were now in the heart of Lyra's people's territory, surrounded by ships that were far more advanced than anything the humans had. He knew they were in dangerous territory, and the gravity of the situation settled over him like a heavy blanket. "Stay close," Lyra said, turning to him. "Whatever happens, don't let go." Adam nodded, his grip tightening on the armrest. Beside him, he wasn't sure what to expect, but he knew one thing for certain: this wasn't just about Lyra anymore. It was about both of them. And no matter what happened, they would face it together. The ship slowed as they approached a massive station. It was unlike anything Adam had ever seen, sleek, imposing, and surrounded by a web of advanced technology. This was Lyra's home, a place that had once felt so far away, and now it was only a few moments from becoming the place where their fates would be decided. Lyra took a deep breath. "Here we are." The ship docked, and Adam and Lyra stood together as the hatch slowly opened. Neither of them knew what awaited them on the other side, but they were ready. The air was thick with tension as Adam and Lyra stepped off the ship. The station they had docked at was massive, towering above them in the cold silence of space. Lyra's people had greeted them, but there was no warmth in their eyes. Instead, there was suspicion and uncertainty. Adam felt it too. He stood a few steps behind Lyra, ready to protect her if necessary. But the fear was still there. He didn't know how her people would react. Lyra, however, walked confidently. Despite everything, she stood tall. She had made the choice to return, and now she would face the consequences of that decision. As they walked through the station's large corridors, the alien soldiers and civilians that passed by stared at them, some in curiosity, others with open disdain. Adam tried not to look at them, focusing instead on Lyra. She seemed calm, but he could see the slight tension in her posture. They were led to a large chamber at the center of the station, a grand room where the council of Lyra's people gathered. The room was vast, with high ceilings and walls adorned with alien symbols that Adam couldn't begin to understand. The council members, a mix of older and younger aliens, were seated in a semicircle at the far end of the room. As Adam and Lyra approached, they all fell silent, watching them closely. One of the council members stood. He was taller than the others, his skin a deep shade of blue that shimmered under the lights. His gaze was intense, and his voice, when he spoke, was sharp. "You have returned, Lyra," he said, his tone cold. "After everything, you have returned to us, and you bring a human with you?" Lyra didn't flinch. "Yes, I've returned, and I bring him because he saved my life." The council members exchanged glances, their expressions unreadable. Adam felt a growing unease as the conversation continued. He knew that Lyra's people did not trust humans, and he had no idea how they would react to the truth. "You speak of saving your life," the blue-skinned council member continued, his voice skeptical. "But what of the trust of our people? What of the law? You have broken every rule by accepting aid from a human. This is not just about you, Lyra. This is about our entire species." Lyra stood her ground. "I did not break the law. I made a choice. Adam gave me something that saved me. Without his help, I would be dead, and now I'm here." standing before you, alive. Is that not what matters?" The council fell into a heavy silence. Adam could feel the eyes of the council members on him, judging him, analyzing him. He kept his posture strong, but his hands were slightly trembling. He was far from home, standing in the midst of a foreign culture, and he didn't know if this would be the moment when everything changed for the worst. Finally, another council member, a younger woman with silver markings on her skin, spoke up. Her voice was soft, but there was a hint of curiosity in it. "Is this what you truly believe, Lyra?" she asked. "That the actions of one human can erase the distrust our people have for their kind?" Lyra looked at her for a long moment before answering. "I know it's hard to believe, but the reality is that humans have shown me kindness when no one else would. Adam didn't ask for anything in return. He gave me something, his blood, and I live because of it. Maybe not all humans are like what we've been taught. Maybe there's something more we need to see." The older council member who had spoken first narrowed his eyes. "You would have us believe that this human's actions will change everything we know? That one act of kindness can undo centuries of distrust? I believe it's a start," Lyra said, her voice steady. "I can't change the past, but I'm here now, and I'm asking you to see the truth. Adam saved me, and I owe him my life. We may not be the same, but that doesn't mean we can't learn from each other." The council fell into silence again. Adam could see that some of the members were considering Lyra's words, but others were still unsure. He wasn't sure how much longer he could keep standing there, waiting for their decision. But then, something unexpected happened. The younger woman with the silver markings stood. I think we should listen. Maybe Lyra is right. We have lived in fear and distrust for so long that we have forgotten what it means to trust. Perhaps it is time to rethink our beliefs." Her words caused a ripple of murmurs among the council members. The blue-skinned council member looked at her, his expression hard. But he didn't immediately argue. Instead, he turned back to Lyra. "Very well," he said slowly. "We will allow this human to stay, but we will be watching. If this act of kindness is truly the beginning of something more, then perhaps we have much to learn. But if it is just another lie, then we will deal with it as we always have." Adam nodded, not trusting himself to speak. He had no idea what the future held, but for the first time since arriving, he felt a small sense of relief. Lyra had defended him, and her people had agreed to let him stay, at least for now. After the council's decision, Lyra turned to Adam. Her eyes were filled with gratitude, but also something deeper, something that was still uncertain. The tension had not completely left the room, but it felt like a small victory. "Thank you," Lyra whispered, "for believing in me, for standing with me." Adam smiled, though he was still processing everything. "We're in this together. I won't leave you." They both knew the road ahead would not be easy. There were still many challenges to face, and the trust of Lyra's people would take time to earn. But for now, they had taken the first step towards something new, a future where trust might not be as impossible as it once seemed. Days passed since Adam and Lyra's meeting with the council. The tension in the station was still thick, but the council's decision to allow Adam to stay had brought some hope. It was a small victory, but Adam knew it was just the beginning. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. Lyra's people were still wary of him, and their culture was far more complex than he had ever imagined. Adam spent most of his time trying to understand the alien society he had found himself in. He learned that Lyra's people had a long history, filled with both wisdom and mistakes. Their trust in outsiders had always been fragile, and Adam's presence made many uncomfortable. But Lyra had chosen to stand by him, and that gave him strength. One evening, as Adam walked through the station's quiet corridors, he found Lyra standing by a large window, looking out into space. The stars seemed endless, and the silence around them was almost comforting. Lyra had always been calm in the face of uncertainty, but tonight, Adam noticed something different in her. She seemed distant, as though she was lost in thought. "Lyra," Adam called softly, approaching her. She turned to face him, a faint smile crossing her lips. "Hey, Adam, I didn't hear you coming. You've been quiet lately," Adam said, his voice gentle. "Is everything all right?" Lyra nodded, though there was still a hint of worry in her eyes. "I'm just thinking about my people, about what comes next." Adam could feel the weight of her words. He knew how much this all meant to her. She was caught between her loyalty to her people and the bond they had formed. It wasn't an easy place to be, especially when her people's distrust of humans ran so deep. "I get it," Adam replied. "This isn't easy for you, but you don't have to do it alone. We'll figure it out together." Lyra's expression softened, and she stepped closer to him. "I never imagined I'd be in this situation. A few weeks ago, I was still running from everything, my people, my past. But now, I'm here, and I have to face them. I have to prove that what we did was right. You don't have to prove anything," Adam said, his voice firm. "What you did was your choice, and I respect that. You're not alone in this. I'm not going anywhere." Lyra smiled, a look of gratitude shining in her eyes. "Thank you, Adam. I don't know what I'd do without you." They stood there for a moment, side by side, watching the stars. There was something comforting in the silence between them, a mutual understanding that didn't need words. They were in this together, no matter what came next. The next day, Lyra received word from the council. It was time for her to speak before the people. The council had arranged a gathering where she would address the entire station, explaining her choices and asking for the acceptance of her people. Adam wasn't sure how it would go, but he knew this was the moment that would define everything. It was a chance for Lyra to stand tall, to show her people that she had made a decision that was hers alone. Lyra prepared herself in the hours leading up to the meeting. She spoke little, focused on what she needed to say. Adam could see the weight on her shoulders, the pressure she was under. He wanted to help, but he knew this was her moment. As the time came, Adam stood by her side as they entered the large hall. The room was packed with members of Lyra's species, all watching them with silent curiosity. Lyra stepped forward, her posture straight and confident. Adam could feel the eyes of everyone on him, but he didn't flinch. He was here for Lyra, and that was all that mattered. Lyra stood at the front of the room, her voice steady as she began to speak. "I stand before you today to ask for your understanding," she began. "For many of you, what I've done seems impossible. You've been taught to distrust humans, to see them as enemies, as a threat. But I'm here to tell you that I've seen another side. I have been helped, not by one of our own, but by a human." There was a murmur in the room, but Lyra didn't falter. She continued, her words strong. "I know this isn't easy for you to accept, but I stand here today, alive, because of Adam's choice. He gave me his blood. He saved me, and that is something that I cannot ignore. We cannot keep living in fear of the unknown. We cannot let our past define our future." Her voice rose, a quiet but passionate plea for her people to listen. "I ask you, my people, to think beyond your fears. Think beyond what you've been taught. We are not so different, you and I, and perhaps, together, we can find a way to move forward." The room was silent as Lyra finished. Adam could feel the weight of her words hanging in the air. She had spoken from her heart, and there was no going back now. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then, slowly, one of the council members stood. It was the younger woman who had supported Lyra before. Her voice was calm, but there was a sense of hope in it. "I agree with Lyra," she said. "Perhaps it is time we stop judging others based on old beliefs. Maybe it's time we open ourselves to new possibilities." There was a pause, and then another voice, this one from an older council member, spoke up. "We have always been taught to distrust humans," the voice said, heavy with age and experience. "But maybe, just maybe, Lyra is right. Maybe we have been blind to something important, one by one." Other voices joined in. It wasn't unanimous, but it was a start. The people were listening. And in that moment, Adam knew that the seeds of change had been planted. Lyra turned to him, her eyes bright with a mixture of relief and uncertainty. But one thing was clear: her people were beginning to understand. There was still work to be done, but they had made it this far. Adam smiled at her. "I told you, we figure it out." And for the first time since they had arrived, Lyra allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, everything would be all right. Weeks passed since Lyra's speech to the council. The tension in the station had not disappeared completely, but there was a change in the air. People had begun to look at Adam differently. The initial distrust was still there, but now they seemed to be questioning the old beliefs. Lyra had started to rebuild the fragile trust between her people and humans, one step at a time. Adam and Lyra spent their days adjusting to this new reality. The council had agreed to let Adam stay, and his presence in the station was no longer an open secret. It was strange for Adam, knowing that he was still an outsider in a world so different from his own. Yet, he felt more at home here than he ever had in the far reaches of space. He wasn't just a soldier now. He was part of something more, something important. One morning, Adam woke early to find Lyra already up. She was sitting by the window. Again, her gaze fixed on the distant stars. It had become a routine for her. Watching the stars in quiet thought, Adam walked over, joining her at the window. "Good morning," he said softly, knowing how much she cherished her moments of peace. Lyra smiled but didn't turn away from the window. "Good morning, Adam. I've been thinking about the future, about where we go from here." Adam nodded. "I think about that a lot too." There had been a quiet understanding between them in recent days. They knew the road ahead would not be easy, even though things were calmer now. The people on the station had only begun to accept Lyra's decisions. There were still challenges ahead, but Lyra seemed determined to make her people see that humans could be more than just strangers and enemies. "What happens next?" Adam asked, his voice filled with a mixture of hope and uncertainty. Lyra finally turned to face him, her silver eyes reflecting the soft light of the stars. "I don't know, but I think it's time we start looking beyond this station. We need to build something new, something where humans and my people can work together. Not just survive, but grow. There's so much we can learn from each other." Adam felt a sense of pride swell inside him. She was right. They had come a long way, but there was still so much to do. He hadn't just come here to stay. He had come to be part of something bigger, to help bridge the gap between two very different worlds. "That sounds like a big task," Adam said, his voice filled with admiration. "It is," Lyra agreed, a small smile tugging at her lips. "But I don't think it's impossible. I've seen the way you've changed the way I think. Maybe it's time to show my people that change is possible." The next few days were filled with discussions and planning. Lyra worked closely with the council, talking to them about how they could begin to collaborate with humans in meaningful ways. Adam helped wherever he could, offering his perspective and ideas. It wasn't always easy. There were still those who resisted, who believed that trusting humans was too risky. But little by little, the ideas Lyra shared began to take root. One afternoon, after a particularly long meeting with the council, Lyra walked with Adam through the station's outer corridors. The view outside was breathtaking. The stars stretched out in every direction, endless and peaceful. "This place," Lyra said, her voice quiet, "has been home to my people for so long. But I've always felt like something was missing. Now, I feel like I'm seeing it for the first time." Adam smiled, looking out at the vast expanse of space. "Maybe that's what it is, seeing things from a different perspective." Lyra nodded thoughtfully. "Yes, and I think that's what we need to teach everyone. To see beyond the fear. To see what we could build together." Adam didn't know where the future would take them, but he knew that whatever happened, Lyra was right. There was a chance to build something better. It wasn't just about surviving anymore. It was about creating a future where both species could thrive. As time passed, the relationship between Lyra's people and humans began to evolve. There were still disagreements, but there were more conversations, more understanding. Adam found himself working alongside Lyra in ways he had never expected. They were partners in this new vision, and the more they worked together, the more they realized how much they had to offer each other. One evening, as they stood outside, looking at the stars, Adam turned to Lyra. "You know, I never expected any of this. I came here thinking I'd be just another soldier, doing my duty. But I've learned so much from you. from your people, and I think we're just getting started." Lara looked at him, her expression soft and grateful. "I never expected any of this either. But I'm glad you're here, Adam. You've changed everything." Adam smiled. "We've changed everything." Together, they stood in silence for a moment, the weight of their words hanging in the air. For the first time since they had met, Adam felt a sense of peace. It was as if they had found a new path, one that neither of them had expected, but that they were both ready to walk together. The future was still uncertain, but Adam knew that, no matter what came next, they would face it side by side, and that, in itself, was enough to make him believe in what was possible.